And this is a really good one. We've asked about, team identities. We've talked about different programs and can they be successful while certain other programs in their leagues are successful. Josh is a Kentucky fan. Hi, wanted to write in regarding program identities and expectations. Love that you two are reunited. I really enjoyed listening to your show with The Athletic. Enjoy listening to Andy Ari On3. Still waiting for a t-shirt with a hot dog on a helmet logo. I actually have that t-shirt because my kids made it for me, but that is the only one that exists. Regarding Kentucky, I think a reasonable floor for our program is to consistently make a bowl game, which would mean going 3-6 against power conference teams and 3-0 against the G5 and FCS. And a fair ceiling is to occasionally be in the hunt for a CFP bid, either 8-4, 9-3, or 10-2. I do not think we hit our program ceiling under Stoops, if only because we've only had one top 50 offense in his tenure. And I believe we can take a next step by pairing the traditionally elite Stoops defenses with a consistently competent offense. While Kentucky fans understand we probably will never win a national championship, we're also not content going 6-6 or 7-5 every season. Our roster building strategy should prioritize selling ourselves as the SEC school for Midwestern, predominantly Ohio and Michigan, and DMV players. We must recruit Kentucky in the Mid-South, Tennessee, and North Carolina as well. We may not always have the big blue wall level of NFL talent on the offensive line, but UK football does rise and fall as our line of scrimmage talent rises and falls. We should not be a portal-heavy program, if only because in the SEC, portal programs tend to have a lower floor. 2024 Ole Miss should be proof positive that, I don't know, they went 9-3. Floor wasn't that bad. Then programs who consistently dominate in high school recruiting. Our rivals, Louisville, may find success in being a portal program because they play in the ACC, but I do not believe this is a winning strategy for UK. UK football success also turns on the level of financial investment it receives relative to the rest of the SEC. As we go further and further from our 10-3 Citrus Bowl winning days under Stoops, momentum within the fan base shift towards funding basketball over football. As someone who loves college football, this is very worrisome. It is imperative we spend at the same level as our SEC peers. All the best, Drew. Oh, I'm sorry. All the best, Josh. So Josh brings up some interesting things.
That was the whole thing. I don't even know if I have anything to add to that.
I have a couple. The not having a top 50 offense, and obviously that's using total offense, which is not the best stat in the world, but I think it is completely fair to say that the offenses in the Mark Stoops era have not been fantastic at Kentucky. But that's probably because Mark Stoops prioritizes having a really good defense, running at a tempo that does not stress the defense that much, that does not force his defense back on the field a ton. So I think the lack of a top 50 offense is more philosophical. Remember, 2 different stints with Liam Cohen as the offensive coordinator, who was a fantastic offensive coordinator for the Tampa Bay Bucks in the NFL, who's now a head coach in the NFL. Like, it's not like there hasn't been coaching talent, playing talent there. Will Levis was a good quarterback. They've had the capability of it, but I think the way Mark Stoops wants to run his program philosophically, they are probably not going to have the most explosive offense in the world. Is that fair?
I think that's fair. I think that's a fact.
Also, the big blue wall part of it, and this is the tragic part. John Schlarman was their longtime offensive line coach. He passed away from cancer a few years ago. When he passed away, it did seriously dent what Kentucky can be as a football program, because he was special. He was a guy that other programs in the SEC and other leagues actually would kind of cheat off his paper. When he identified a player and offered him, everybody else would come in and offer because he knew exactly what he was looking at. And he was just a tremendous coach, and very sad that he passed away. Then you've also got Vince Marrow going to Louisville, the longtime lieutenant of Mark Stoops, who was kind of the guy in recruiting for Kentucky. He's now running the recruiting operation at Louisville, which is obviously, that does directly impact Kentucky.
I have thoughts on Kentucky, and here's the deal. So back before NIL started, I was really high on Kentucky because they had a clear, identifiable plan, and they executed that plan with Vince Marrow, who's now at Louisville, and Mark Stoops having deep Ohio roots. I mean, I wrote a column for The Athletic and the Cleveland Plain Dealer. It was called The Big Ten Killer, because Kentucky, at their height of going 10-3, was going on into Ohio in getting the players that Michigan State and Wisconsin and all the other Big Ten teams were using to feast. The leftovers that Ohio State didn't take out of Ohio, they were taking. And they were getting really, really good SEC players out of Ohio. It was during a time in which you could weaponize your geography. And I still don't understand from a geographical standpoint why Kentucky isn't nearly as deep as Ohio in terms of high school talent. It's the South, but Columbus to Lexington's only a 2.5 hour drive, or 3 hour drive. I don't know like if that plan is executable at the same rate because the players that were leftovers for Ohio are still very expensive NIL guys. Yes. And like that has like completely changed the paradigm of how they try to go get players. And when you talk about
and also like what Josh was saying about where they should get the players from, like the DMV, okay, that is a highly contested recruiting area. That's the DC, Maryland, Virginia area. Like, do you know where Dylan Stewart's from? He's from Washington, DC. Where does he go?
South Carolina.
Yeah. Shane Beamer recruits the DMV really well.
You can never tell when your questions are rhetorical, by the way, or when you're actually asking me or putting me on the spot. But like, yeah, exactly. And like, Andy, what is Kentucky's advantage? Kentucky used to go into Cincinnati and find a high-rated 3-star or a low-rated 4-star that is very good. That was an hour and a half away. They could sell on SEC football. And like, that was enough. They'd have good relationships with their coaches because Mark Stoops is actually a really cool dude. Vince Marrow's a very convincing guy. Like, I mean, they did a really good job there. But like now it's like, again, back to the Ralph Russo anger question. Like, what is your plan? If you don't have the money to spend that in football the way your peers do, and you can't rely on your geography, how do you like? I don't care how motivated Mark Stoops is. What do you do? You know,
I do. I mean, they do have money.
They do, but it's not. You're not using it as a weapon in a way that you can go get players that do they have more money than Penn State and Wisconsin? Do they have more money?
No. Well, I have another thought on this too. It goes back to our discussion about Arkansas a few weeks ago. It's not that Arkansas can't be good ever. It's that it's very hard for Arkansas to be good when Ole Miss and Missouri are also good right now. Kentucky can be good. But it's also hard for Kentucky to be good when South Carolina is good or when Tennessee is good. And the point of this is the SEC can only have so many good teams. The Big Ten, same thing. And I think that's the question. How many good teams can the SEC support? How many good teams could the Big Ten support? Like for the SEC, I think in a given moment,
8, 7.
8. You probably have 8 good teams. Half the league can be happy with how things are going.
Yeah. Big Ten, 7.
Yeah, which I think will grow as these schools with the money advantage they have start to care more about football. They might not all ever care. Like Northwestern and Maryland may not ever care about football the way that Penn State and Ohio State do.
But in the Big Ten.
I will bet you most of these schools care deeply about football. 5 years from now, we're talking about a very deep league.
Nebraska, Illinois, Iowa, Minnesota, and Wisconsin. Like, how many of them can be good at the same time?
It's a great question. I probably 2.
Yeah,
probably
also,
2.
I don't want to. This might be a clippable thing. I don't like to call the clip before I say it. But you used to be able to come play in the SEC. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
But every year the Big Ten wins the national title, and every year they're competitive on that stage.
Mm-hmm. Sell that too.
The memories of these kids that you're recruiting aren't as extensive as ours.
Yeah.
I don't know if come play in the SEC to a Cincinnati kid hits the same way it did in 2020. Like it's
or the way it did in 2015 when Mark Stoops was trying to really rebuild that program.
It's still great. Everybody wants to play in the SEC. It's a great conference. But
right, they still have the most NFL draftees every year.
But I don't know if a kid's going to pick
right.
Kentucky over Wisconsin because he gets to play in the SEC. Like that.
No,
because
Wisconsin can say, okay, well, you want to go play for a team that's not one of the better teams in the league and have to play against Alabama and Georgia. Okay, we play against Ohio State and Oregon and Penn State. Like, what's the difference here?
So, program ceiling is always interesting. If you would have told me what's Indiana's program ceiling, I don't think I ever would have said
it would not have been as high as last year's win total.
I think that identifying program ceilings in 2025 is the hardest it's ever been to identify a program ceiling. Like Illinois, what's their program ceiling, and what do we think? Like
they just won 10 games, for goodness sakes.
I don't know. Yeah. But I think that Mark Stoops was excellent during a time in which he had a plan, was able to execute that plan. And I think if he is excellent again, he's going to have to find a new way to do it. And that would be super impressive. I'm excited to see what he's got left in the tank.
Yeah. And I'm excited to see how many teams can be good. And can you dethrone teams that are good to become one of the teams that are good? Because I think it feels like Kentucky and South Carolina, every time they play, are kind of fighting over that.
Yeah.
Didn't it feel like a huge moment last year when wasn't South Carolina a double-digit underdog at Kentucky? I think it was week 2, and then just annihilated them. And it felt like the whole season shifted.
Yeah, yeah. Great
but
question.
Now Vandy's good too.
Yeah. Also, Louisville is kind of interesting, and I wonder what their plan is.
Very interesting. I think Louisville with Jeff Brom is positioned to succeed in the ACC long term.
Is Vince Marrow going to Louisville like if Mark Pantoni went to Ann Arbor?
It is that version of it. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. That's a pretty deep cut.
It is.
And I think if you're a random fan,
they tried to get him a year before that. So they didn't give up.
But I think if you're a random fan, you might not realize if you're just a USC fan listening to this, you might not realize the significance of that. But Vince Marrow was like Mark Stoops' right-hand man, and he went to the rival.
Yeah. So that's one of those on the KSR message board.
Yeah.
Massive discussion of that. So
But great question and very thoughtful. Really appreciate it, Joshua. Thank you.